selection is from Devon and Somerset, from the seaside town of Weston-Super-Mare. In the summer season, Weston is a hugely popular holiday resort, attracting families from throughout the British Isles. A large number of people have settled there to retire, and 2 months ago a 66-year-old resident was attacked in a wood nearby and killed. It was a Saturday morning at the end of March, a time of year when local residents had the place largely to themselves. The bay and beach at Weston are spectacular. At the north end, the old town overlooks the sea, and above the houses is Walbury Hill. Once the site of an ancient fortress, it dominates the town. The dense woods here are a great attraction to walkers and explorers. Whether exercising dogs or riding horses, hundreds of people come here every day. It's Saturday, March the 28th. Down in Weston, number 38 Osborne Grove. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and Helen Fleet is preparing for the day.
Windy weather seems to have turned around, but the London Weather Centre tell us that conditions will still be pretty miserable when the boat race starts in about 3 hours' time.
Helen was 66 and enjoying her retirement in the house that she and her sister Betty had bought 4 years before.
A new look at another cricket immortal, Dr. W.G. Grace, revealed in a new play called The Champion. But at 6 minutes past 9 o'clock, let's go down the river now.
Helen came originally from the north of England. She lived in Crewe until she was 18, just before the war. Helen joined the ATS and trained as a lorry driver. She then transferred to the Women's Royal Air Force. She fell in love with a Spitfire pilot who was killed in action over Italy. After the war, she married, but it didn't last. She married again, but 20 years ago was widowed. She found fulfillment when she took up a successful career organising trade exhibitions for an Oxfordshire engineering firm. In retirement, her greatest joy was her 2 small dogs.
Don't be a minute, loves. Can we go walkies? Be patient. We're good boys.
But is there any activity on the river at the moment?
Morning, Helen.
Hello, dear.
Hello, dogs. Made some tea.
Will you be ready right after breakfast?
Yes.
Well, I'll drop you off on the way up to the woods.
Helen intended to go to Walbury Hill to walk the dogs, but her sister wanted to go shopping for a blouse. Helen promised to drop her off and then pick up some bread they needed.
And I might just buy you a couple of those donuts you're so fond of.
Having dropped Betty off as planned, Helen got to the baker's in Milton Road at about 10:30.
Bye, girls. Bye.
2 loaves and 2 of those lovely donuts, please.
To Eileen Fowler in the shop, Helen seemed her normal, cheery self.
Jam ones? Yes, please.
At 10:50, Helen was seen parking at Walbury Hill Road. She parked in her normal spot.
Come on, here we go. Walkie talkies, walkie talkies, come on, Bilbo, Cindy's.
Helen walked the dogs here twice a day, normally for over an hour.
Come on, Bilbo.
She suffered from emphysema, so she got tired quickly, but she still covered her usual route of about a mile. On a March morning, nearly everyone in the woods would be riding horses or, like Helen, walking dogs. But at around 11:30, these 2 girls noticed a young man in a ski jacket walking alone. 50 minutes later, at about 12:20, Helen was nearing the end of her walk. About then, 3 separate witnesses heard a series of piercing screams. About the same time, below the woods, a boy almost fell over. He was running so fast down Prescott Close. 20 minutes later, a friend of Helen's, Sylvia Lewis, was starting her walk. As she let her dog off the lead, she saw Helen's 2 running free.
Oh,
Oh, hello, Cindy. Hello, Bilbo. Hello. Come on. Hey, where's Helen, then? Where's Helen? Come on, show me where she is. Helen? Helen?
50 yards away, a boy in an anorak was seen by a witness who was waiting for a bus to leave.
But you'd have to wait until the leaving time, which is about 4 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
Cindy? Cindy? Hiya, Helen. Cindy? What in the... Oh, my God. Wait, please. Can somebody help me? It's my friend. She's lying in the wood. I think she's been attacked.
Right,
please, could you come and help me?
I'll come and see what I can do.
Helen had been beaten, she'd been stabbed and strangled. The investigating officer is Ray Sargentson. Not only a very, very violent attack on her, but apparently quite motiveless.
That's right, a very vicious attack on a frail lady, totally unable to defend herself, who in addition to being stabbed, beaten about the body, was also strangled.
Now, the great priority, obviously, is to find those young men in anorak, ski jackets or whatever, who were in the wood on that day, haven't yet been interviewed.
Yes, indeed, yes.
It's Saturday the 28th of May. Obviously, all young people who are in that wood, anybody under the age of, what, 22, 23, should come forward.
Yes, anybody in the wood. On the 28th of March, who was in the wood during the times of between 10:45 and 12:30 should come forward. With a large number of people that we haven't yet traced, who we know were in the woods during the time.
I gather something like 70 people who are in the woods, you think, who haven't yet come forward.
That's right. From other statements of other witnesses, they've told us of descriptions of persons walking dogs. We have not traced up to 70 people who are in the woods on the morning of the 28th of March.
Right, and in fact, I know you're trying to trace another young man, and very badly need him to come forward, who was seen 2 days earlier, on the Thursday.
Yes, we traced a witness about the 6th week of the inquiry who spoke to the deceased 2 days before her death in Welby Woods. He was asking the whereabouts of some of his workmen.
He was driving a van?
He was driving a van, and Mrs. Fleet was stood there, and nearby was a youth, and this is the only sighting we've ever got of the deceased with a single youth. She basically only spoke to other persons walking dogs.
Right, this is about 4:10 on Thursday, 26th of March.
Yes, that's right.
Now, obviously, somebody may have suspicions about somebody. You've got a video fit, actually, a computer-enhanced video fit of that youngster who was seen 2 days before. We don't know that that guy has anything to do with the crime. You just want to eliminate him, yes?
Yes, certainly do. He's a very important witness. He's been seen speaking to the deceased, and we clearly do want to eliminate him from the inquiry.
Somebody, of course, may be shielding someone. They may have suspicions about someone who acted oddly.
Yes, the viciousness of the murder lead us to believe that somebody will be acting in an irrational or unusual manner, and we plead to anybody who knows any person, whether in their family or not, to come forward and supply us with the information.
All right, incidentally, I might say that when we did that reconstruction, you heard all those screams, nobody rang the police and nobody came to investigate. Let me also say, incidentally, the 2 dogs have been found a good home. Don't ring us about that. But if you've any suspicions about who might have done this thing, terribly important you act quickly. Please do call us. You can speak to a BBC researcher if you prefer. The number, of course, 01811 8055, or dial the incident room at Weston-Super-Mare, Weston-Super-Mare 25411. That's 0934, the code for Weston-Super-Mare, 25411.
Likely people to become the victims of a crime are the elderly. Few criminals sink that low. And that's one of the reasons that when it does happen, it's a matter of particular urgency that someone who's attacked an old person is found. Our next case tonight is the murder of an 84-year-old lady in Devon, Miss Ivy Batten. Police don't yet know for sure, but the motive was probably robbery. Somebody hoped she had cash or something else worth stealing at home. Our reconstruction begins near Honiton in East Devon, where Ivy Batten had lived all her life. The hamlet of Chute Bottom lies right on the main Waterloo to Exeter railway line, deep in the Devon countryside. Ivy Batten moved here to this bungalow overlooking the railway line with her brother 22 years ago. When her brother died in 1979, she stayed on alone. Ivy had spent all her life in the area. She came from a large family and was very well known and much respected. She had numerous nephews and nieces.
Come on, Janet, you've been out there long enough. I've made the tea, so come and have a cup.
It hasn't taken as long as I thought, actually.
Her great-niece Janet was a regular visitor. On Wednesday, the 25th of November, Janet had stopped by to see Ivy, who'd been unwell with a chill.
Have you done any Christmas shopping yet?
No, I haven't even started, Auntie. I haven't even bought my Christmas cards yet.
Oh, I started to do my cards now.
Oh, that reminds me. I'll pick you up your stamps and a couple of chicken pieces.
Oh, thank you, dear. Oh, they look lovely. I should put one in the casserole and the other one can go in the freezer for now.
But that's why I got you 2 portions, because I thought that you would want to do that.
Well, thanks, dear, for what you've done today.
Oh, that's all right, Auntie. But listen, take care of that chill, OK? And I'll pop back and see you on Sunday.
Right, Ella.
Bye,
Thank
then.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Morning, postman. I was hoping I'd see you. Got 2 letters.
Right,
for you.
lovely. One for
Oh,
you.
thank you very much.
Your paper's here a minute.
Thank you. Not a very nice day, is it?
No, it isn't. Bye now.
Bye.
Ivy spent most of Thursday working on her nativity basket. She'd made one every Christmas for years. She was known by many of the train drivers who regularly passed her home, and at 4:13 a driver remembers seeing her waving to him from her kitchen window. At 5:20, a neighbour passing the bungalow saw the place in darkness. But at 6:30, another train driver remembers the kitchen light was on, but there was no sign of Ivy. An hour later, at 7:30 p.m, her great-nephew, Frank, a farmer, drove by, having finished the evening milking. He noticed the front gate was ajar. At 9 o'clock next morning, Janet and her friend Ruth took her dog for his usual walk. Seeing the closed curtains, Janet assumed her aunt was having a lie-in because of her chill. Next morning, Saturday, all the deliveries arrived as usual. Then Janet and 2 friends saw the curtains still drawn and became really concerned. Janet found her aunt's body on the sitting room floor. She'd been beaten about the head and had died from her injuries sometime after the attack on the Thursday evening. When the police searched the bungalow for forensic evidence, they found that the electricity had been turned off at the mains. When the power was restored, 3 lights and the TV came on.
1 hour for lunch now. Go.
A week later, in a field 800 yards away, 2 farm workers found a pair of well-worn purple and gold gloves and a hammer. Forensic tests have confirmed that these were used by Ivy Batten's murderer. Well, in charge of the case is Detective Superintendent John Essery. We'll start with the gloves and the hammer which we've brought into the studio here. In fact, looking at them more closely, I would have said these gloves were not so much purple and gold as purple and brown or khaki or mustardy coloured.
Well, that's true, but they're very, very distinctive. They're predominantly purple, but they've got this gold band. And in fact, the band on the right hand is much larger than that on the left hand. They're also distinctive in that both thumbs are worn. And if you look closely, you can see that they've both been repaired, both thumbs have been repaired, probably at independent times, because this one, the left, is with blue thread and the right with the dark thread.
So whoever used these gloves probably did some kind of manual work that made him wear at the thumbs.
That is a possibility, that it was wear. It's equally possible that they might have wanted freedom for the thumb in their trade or profession.
Now these aren't bought in a shop, they've been knitted by somebody who might be watching now and might recognise them.
That's true, they're hand knitted, they've been hand repaired. The person that knitted them would recognise them, the person that repaired them would recognise them, and so too would somebody working or living alongside the offender.
Let's hope they would. Now the hammer is also particularly distinctive. It's not an ordinary domestic household hammer, is it? It's an unusual one.
No, it's not. We all own hammers, and probably we can recognise our own hammers, but this one is very distinctive. It's what is called a blocking hammer or a planishing hammer. It's used in a variety of trades. It's used at technical schools. It's used in metalwork. It's used in precious metalwork, and it has been used, probably innocently, in its use in hitting a surface harder than its own, which isn't to be found in the household. And from our inquiries, we know that that hammer was made between April 74 and the 31st of December 76.
We can see it's split here, that makes it even more distinctive.
Yes, I think that the person that's used that hammer, the innocent person that's used that hammer, will recognise it. They'll recognise it by the crack on it. And I'm sure that if any viewer thinks that they've got a hammer like that, then I would ask them to go and have a look and see if they've still got it in their toolbox.
Right.
It may have been stolen from them.
Let's hope so. One particularly important clue also is that there was a car seen just a few yards from the bridge, very near Ivy's home. What about that?
Yes, that car is facing in the chute direction, just a few yards from Ivy. It's variously described. We think that it's possibly a white Viva with a black roof, but it could also possibly be a Cortina. It's been described by 3 witnesses, and that one was there in the evening between 18:30, that's 6:30, and 7:30 on Thursday the 26th.
Right, finally, this person may be, and if so, do you think somebody might be sheltering them?
We've given the gloves and the hammer very wide coverage in the southwest. Nobody's come forward. It is possible that somebody's shielding them. To that person, I would say this. The person that committed this offence was probably a burglar. He may burgle again. And if he does, and if he's cornered, will he murder again? And if the answer to that is yes, then my message to the person that's shielding him is simply, could you live with your conscience?
Mr. Essery, thank you. And please help if you can, particularly if you know anything about those gloves or the hammer or the car. The number to ring here in the studio is 01811 8055, or you can dial Devon and Cornwall Incident Room direct. It's 0392 3991. That's 0392, the code for Exeter, 3991. Our next case is a disturbing one because it's the murder of a straightforward, well-liked man for no reason anyone can work out. John Green was in his mid-30s. He wasn't a very ambitious man, and he made a basic living from a variety of occasional jobs. Because his lifestyle was a fairly simple one, and he lived rent-free in a property belonging to his mother, he wasn't too concerned about earning money. John lived in Poole in Dorset, and police need to hear from anyone who came into contact with him, particularly in the last few days before he died. It was on the evening of Saturday the 2nd of February that John's body was found at his home. Our reconstruction begins the week before his death. John had held a party at his basement flat. It was Saturday the 26th of January. John was usually rather shy and awkward in company. But that night, in his own flat and surrounded by friends, he was relaxed and sociable. The party was to celebrate the birthday of a close friend of his, Jude Holliday.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, hi, Tom, all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I can't with some fresh air. It's so hot.
I know, it's a great party.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Brilliant, okay.
I'm glad you're enjoying it too.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Oh, John! Hi, come over and join us. Do you know Andy? This is Andy.
Oh, hi.
I've known John for 15 years as a friend. He was quiet, unpretentious, shy, really, man. He had a wide range of friends. He was intelligent, active mind. All his friends would agree with me that he was a gentle giant and would never hurt a fly.
Yeah, it's nice to see everybody again.
I always sit up in the kitchen.
The party went on into the small hours. There are still a few partygoers police need to speak to. They may have witnessed something significant or be able to provide some extra information about John. Above John's basement flat is a shop which he rarely used. It was in the Branksome area of Poole on the busy main road to Bournemouth. The windows were usually whitewashed, but shortly after the party, John had scrubbed them down. The first of an unusual series of events that week was an appointment on Tuesday the 29th of January. A meeting at a roadside cafe with an unnamed person.
Oh, there you are.
Then, on Thursday, John's next-door neighbour heard shouting through the wall.
Every night, I know, if you don't watch it.
No, you won't.
I bloody well will.
You know I was pissed out of my head that night.
I could hear the conversation quite clearly through the wall, and I was absolutely horrified to hear this woman threaten to knife a man. I then heard some running footsteps and quickly rushed into the lounge to look through the window and just caught a glimpse of a woman.
Later that same evening, other neighbours heard shouts and thumps coming from his shop. Whatever may have happened, the following day John seemed untroubled. In fact, this local shopkeeper, who saw him around lunchtime, said he seemed unusually cheerful.
Oh, hello.
But only a couple of hours later, outside his shop, a witness saw someone fitting John's description and looking pale and frightened, involved in a tussle. No one seems to have seen John alive since then. The next evening, Saturday, shortly after 6 o'clock, a woman who had just got off the bus walked past his shop.
Hello.
That man could well have been seen by passengers getting on the bus.
All our fares are recorded on computer, and we can tell from that that on the night in question, 2 concessionary fares were issued at this stop. I was the driver on that night, and I'm fairly sure that I remember 2 elderly women boarding at this stop and carrying on towards Poole with me.
It was only moments after that that a friend of John's came to visit him. She found his body. He'd been repeatedly stabbed. Well, Mr. Homer, does there seem to be any possible reason, as far as you can see, why anybody would have wanted to kill John Green?
No, there doesn't, Sue. Despite the fact that we've looked very carefully into John Green's background, we can't find any reason why anyone would want to kill him. In fact, his friends describe him as a very gentle and genial man, and not the sort of person to confront people, the one that would not seek trouble.
Let's look at those unusual events. There are a number of them during the week before he died. There was the rendezvous at the cafe in his diary on the A33. What might that have been? A business meeting, perhaps?
That's a possibility, but on the other hand, he could have been meeting a friend. We really don't know at the moment, and we do need to find out. What we have established is that the appointment refers to the Little Chef, which is on the A33, about 8 miles north of Basingstoke, at a place called Heckfield.
And this was Tuesday, January the 29th. Somebody may have seen something.
Yes, and I'd like anyone that knew the reason why John Green went there or who he was due to meet to come forward and give us a call tonight.
The other of the mysteries was the sighting of John apparently being harassed by two men outside his shop, and that was the last time he was seen alive.
Yes, and that information came to the incident room from an anonymous letter that we received, and the person obviously observed what was going on for several minutes and saw this incident going on the other side of the road outside of John Green's shop. We also know that the author of the letter was waiting for someone to pick them up because their car had broken down.
So the vital thing is for somebody to come forward and perhaps corroborate that sighting for you.
Yes, that's right. I would very much like the writer of the letter to come forward. That's vitally important in my view because the letter contains information which I know is important to the inquiry. And also it's important to get the person that picked them up to come forward.
Right, and that was Friday the 1st of February at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes, it was. And the descriptions provided by the writer of the letter are that the first man was something around 20 to 24 years of age. He was 5 feet 10 inches tall, and he had light faded blue jeans with a dark blue top. And a very distinctive feature about his particular description is that he had dirty blonde hair or hair that was auburn colour with blonde highlights in it. Now, the second man is considerably older, at around 40 years of age, again about 5 feet 10 inches tall, but with dark hair and in need of a shave. He was much thicker set than the first man and had brown trousers on with a lighter brown zip-up top.
So is there a possibility, perhaps, that one of those two men were the same man who was seen by the woman getting off the bus the following evening?
Well, we can't discount that, but on the other hand, we must keep an open mind about it. It could be that that man is not, in fact, connected with the murder inquiry and for some reason doesn't want to come forward. It's very important that we do find out who that person is, and I would ask anyone that knows the description of that man to come forward.
And what is his description?
He's, in fact, described as about 6 feet tall, 35 to 45 years of age, of large build, and wearing denim jeans. And a distinctive feature about him was that he was wearing a very thick, dark green jumper.
Right, now we're talking about shortly before John's body was found, and on the bus, got two women pensioners who you need to trace.
Yes, they were getting onto the bus at about 6:15 on Saturday the 2nd of February. We know that they purchased fares, which meant that they got off at the Shah of Persia public house at Poole, and the other one got off at an area called Upton just outside of the town. It's very important that those two people contact us, and I'd ask them to ring us tonight. They may have important information, having been waiting at that bus stop.
Right, and there's a reward in this case, isn't there?
Yes, there is, and that's been provided by the family and friends of John Green, and it currently stands at £13,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of John Green's killers, and we're determined that we would like to get to the bottom of that.
Mr. Homer, thank you very much indeed. If you knew John and you haven't yet made contact with the police, or if you can offer any new information to help discover why anyone would want to kill him, please do phone. The number to the studio here is 081 811 8181, or you can ring the incident room in Poole, and that number is 0202 703388. That's 0202, the code for Poole, 703388. Of 21-year-old Joe Ramsden, who has Down syndrome. It's just over 9 weeks now since Joe went missing, and obviously fears for her safety are growing. We've now filmed a reconstruction of what we know Joe did on the day she disappeared, Tuesday, April the 9th. You'll hear the voices of several witnesses who saw her on that day. The actress who takes the part of Joe is, like Joe, 21 years old and has Down syndrome. But we begin at Joe's home in Bridport in Dorset. Her parents have taken part in our film in the hope that someone tonight can finally help to find her.
Our daughter Jo has Down syndrome, which means she has learning difficulties. But apart from that, she quite likes sport. She's a bit of a tomboy, really. She's got me up a windmill in Suffolk once. I had a job to get down.
She liked making up dances to music.
Like swing, we had a big swing made specially for her, because he was getting older.
She's just started a new job, working with children at the leisure centre, which she enjoyed very much. Bye-bye. She must have had an understanding with children. I suppose it's on the same level as her. And she wasn't shy with them, like she could have been with adults. She used to hold their hands and help them on the apparatus. And play with them afterwards.
For the past 7 weeks, Jo had worked every Tuesday at the Bridport Leisure Centre. Our reconstruction begins on the day Jo went missing, Tuesday the 9th of April. On this particular morning, Janet Thorne, the teacher here, was preoccupied with gymnastic exams and couldn't give Jo as much attention as usual.
That was close. Well done. Hello, Jo. How are you?
Okay, thanks.
Good. I wasn't expecting you this morning, but you're very welcome to stay, and I'd like you to please join in where you can.
Jo wasn't meant to come that Tuesday because I was taking an exam with the older children and felt there wasn't a lot that she could do.
Tell you what to do next. Yeah, sure. Off you go. Come on, Kelly.
I felt she was feeling a little uncomfortable. She didn't know what to do next.
Well done.
There were occasions when I could see her rocking. I thought it was more to do with the fact that she was in a situation she hadn't expected. Not because she didn't want to be there.
Jo! Jo! Are you all right? Hey? Right, would you like to come and help me do something with the girls? Come on, then. Over here. What I want you to do, Jo, is get the balls out and give one each to the girls and one for yourself, all right? Alex, can you stop the girls now, please? And come over here.
Jo would always leave the centre at about 12:30 to go off for lunch.
And then over to me on the...
One of the children remembers seeing her go.
I was doing gymnastics and I saw this man facing the notice board. Then I saw Jo get up and walk out of the hall. The man had a zigzag on his jumper.
Every day, Jo would go for lunch at the adult training centre in Bridport, half a mile away from the gym. Dorothy Gill is an instructor here.
What I've tried to do is to get as much work experience for Jo and the others in the group out in the community. The aims being to build confidence, self-esteem, self-worth. In fact, Jo told us what she'd been doing that morning. She was perfectly all right, perfectly happy. And we had lunch, and then Jo went off to work, as per normal. And it was 1:25. And that was the last time we saw her.
As she was heading back to the gym for the afternoon, several people remember seeing Jo.
Yeah, I suppose it was about 1:50, and I saw Jo standing opposite on the pavement. And then I noticed a fair-haired chap walk up to Jo. He had his hands in his pockets. He didn't touch her or make any move to touch her. He said something to her. Jo sort of looked at him over her shoulder, and then they walked off together up the road. I just assumed from the way that Jo reacted to him, she was smiling and whatever, that he was perhaps a helper from the adult centre there, or a member of the family, or a friend.
All the witnesses report the man was wearing a patterned jumper.
I was driving along, approaching the crossroads at Skilling Hill, and saw Jo holding a man's hand on the opposite side of the road to me. And I thought it was odd that she should be holding someone's hand. It definitely could have been a social worker. He looked intelligent. He didn't look sinister at all.
Coming round from the leisure centre, there was a car coming. I looked inside and there was a person who I thought was Jo Ramsden. I thought, well, one of the staff must be taking us swimming or something, because there was actually a swimming pool up there.
That is the last definite sighting of Jo. She never returned to the gym that afternoon.
Life's not the same.
Well, you're in limbo, aren't you? You've got no news, you can't plan anything, or do anything with any sense. You just wonder where she is.
Meal times, there's always an empty chair. It's just terrible.
empty bedroom.
No one to help me with the shopping. She used to come shopping with me.
Well, whoever's holding her, we need her back. We love her. We just want her back.
She's special.
Well, Mr. Burt, when we appealed for information on Joe on our incident desk last month, 200 viewers rang with help. What do you need from viewers tonight?
Yes, we had an excellent response from your viewers on that last programme. But on this occasion, what I would ask is for the viewers to look closely at the photograph of Joe, so they really get to know her. And then if they've got any information as to where Joe is now, would they please contact us straight away?
Right. That is what Joe looks like.
That's right.
This is Joe is who we need to find. 2 witnesses have helped to make artist's impressions of the man who was seen with Joe on the day she went missing. What are the descriptions of this man? He's
in his late 20s, about 5'5", and as you can see from the artist's impression, he's receding. His hair is very fair and it's thin on top. He's also wearing a very brightly patterned jumper. In fact, if you look at the photo fit, at the artist's impression, you can see that it's got a zigzag pattern across the top.
Now, do you think this man is the same man who was seen a few minutes after the last sighting, driving a black car with Joe in the passenger seat?
Yes, I do. I believe he was in that black hatchback car that was seen going along Skilling Hill Road. This is a black car with a dark grey interior, and it's got headrests which are hollow. In fact, the reconstruction, a very good reconstruction of that car, and if we can link that car to that man, then clearly I should be very pleased.
Another clue may lie in the bright red Liverpool Football Club shoe bag that Joe had with her.
That's right. Joe was an avid Liverpool Football Club supporter, and indeed this is the type of bag that she was carrying. If anybody has seen that bag or found that bag, or a vehicle has been returned and that bag has been in that vehicle, then I would ask them to contact straight away.
What are your feelings about where Joe might be?
Well, I've got real fears for the safety of Joe, and clearly I need the viewers to help us find her so that we can return her to her parents and indeed to the good people of Bridport.
Well, Mr. Burt, let's hope we can achieve that. Of course, it is vital to find that man who was seen that day with Joe in Bridport, if only to eliminate him from the inquiries. Remember, the date was a Tuesday, April the 9th. And if you think you can help, please ring us here in the studio on 081 811 8181 or ring Dorset Police direct at the Bridport Police Station on 0308 22266. That's 0308, the code for Bridport, 22266.
Missing. At what point should you assume there's been foul play? It's a regular dilemma for the police because, after all, most missing people turn up safe and well. In this case, though, detectives have assumed the worst, and that means murder. Melanie Hall went missing back in June from the centre of Bath near her home in Wiltshire, and no one's seen her since. But 1 week after her disappearance, a conversation was overheard just outside Melanie's home village.
We were walking along the Kennet and Avon Canal towards Bradford and Avon. We noticed a black and white cat just ran across our path onto a canal boat.
Miss Snow, I just don't believe you. Nothing happened with Melanie. Why couldn't such a guilty man?
It wasn't until a couple of days later that the name Melanie actually twigged that it could be connected to the Melanie Hall case.
That narrowboat may well be immaterial, but it hasn't yet been traced. It was dark blue with a beige interior, and the couple were aged late 20s to early 30s. Melanie was 25, a graduate in psychology intending to do a PhD.
Melanie was a lovely girl, a wonderful daughter, full of life, looking forward to the future. She had finished her degree a year ago and had probably taken the year out to just enjoy life.
Melanie's mum works at the Royal United Hospital in Bath and found Melanie a temporary job as a clerical assistant.
She'd almost completed a year working at the hospital, and she'd started a new relationship with one of the doctors, and she was hoping to move into her own little house within 6 weeks.
Oh, Melanie, hello.
Is everything okay for this weekend?
Yeah, I've got to go home first and pick up my stuff, but I'll meet you at Warren's later if that's okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great stuff.
Great. Oh, that's my people going. I'll catch you later.
Okay, maybe see you for lunch, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, bye. See you.
Melanie appeared to me affectionate and attractive woman. I sort of dated her 3 weeks, and we did quite a lot of things together. We went out for meals, to the cinema, to clubs, and had a very good time, actually.
Saturday the 8th of June, and they started the evening at a barbecue with friends.
How are you doing? I like your dress. Yeah, got it today. Help me choose it.
Good,
Don't we, Philip? What have we got there? Got some stuff for the barbecue. And everybody's out there, so might just go and pop it.
In the fridge,
yeah, no problem.
Later that night, 4 of them decided to go night clubbing. This is Walcott Street in Bath.
To be the worst driver on the planet. Getting crashes. How's that chicken, Steve? No, it's with me the one on the left of the road.
I went to the loo and I came back to the dance floor, and I sort of had a look across the dancing floor, and I saw Melanie dancing with another man. Initially I couldn't believe it because I was so surprised. Became rather disappointed and a bit upset as well. I couldn't explain it. We had a wonderful time and we were in really good spirits and we were out to have some fun, and she was dancing with this other man and in a rather intimate fashion, so I went to the car to wait for her. I just needed some time to sort myself out and think about what happened. Smoked a cigarette, and I was waiting for some sort of reaction. Either that Melanie would come out of the club and sort of look for me. She knew where the car was, so... and I was just waiting, and nothing really happened, and I decided I'd go home.
There you are. Listen, we're going to go now. Yeah, we're just both really tired. All right then, so I'll see you Monday. Okay, see you later.
I'll see ya.
See you later, Mel. Bye. Bye.
The friends left at 1:10, assuming Philip was still there to take Melanie home.
I was still on the stairs talking to the bouncer, and I saw a pretty girl sat there. I was talking to a bloke, like 5'10", with a dark complexion, very tidy dress, black trousers, silk brown shirt, black shoes, and a very flashy watch. A little while later, I'd seen the couple leave the club together.
Hey, there you go. Here we go. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yes, please.
We were heading along Walcott Street towards Cadillac's nightclub. On the way up, we spotted a couple arguing outside the church hall.
Look, just let go of my...
He was giving her a hard time, wasn't he?
Yeah, lover's turf.
The lady had very blonde hair. He was about 5'10", had dark hair, and was wearing a black bomber-style jacket.
At the same time, further up Walcott Street towards Bath city centre, a blonde in a light-coloured dress was seen being coaxed into the Podium car park. If this wasn't Melanie, who was it? On Monday, Melanie failed to turn up at work.
I was concerned, but I did wonder if she'd taken the day off, and I put a note on there asking her to contact me as soon as possible. But by the evening, there'd been no sign of her, and the note stayed there for several days. I did feel right from the very first day that something has happened to her, and as the days have gone by, and the weeks, and the months, I'm quite sure something serious has happened to her. She had everything to look forward to. She was young, attractive, had so much to look forward to in her life, and I'm sure she wouldn't have done this of her own free will. If she is still alive, I would like just to know where she is, so that we could just put our minds at rest. But if she's dead, we really badly need to know, so at least we could just bring her home.
Now, the last couple of days you might have seen publicity about this case in the Bristol Evening Post and today's papers here in the National. The case of Melanie Hall, who's missing, has been linked with the murder of Louise Smith last Christmas, almost a year ago, and with about half a dozen rapes and attempted rapes that have taken place over about 6 years. Now, Steve Livings, do you think it's the same offender?
I don't know. I deal in physical evidence and fact, and at this time there's no physical evidence or fact to link Melanie Hall's disappearance with the murder of Louise Smith or the series of rapes that have happened in Bath.
All right, well, look, let's just stick with the disappearance of Melanie for the moment. The most obvious man to find is the chap who was seen at the Cadillac's nightclub talking to somebody who looked very much like Melanie.
Yes, this man was sat in an armchair with a girl described similarly to Melanie. He's about 5'7". He's dark hair, quite noticeable, because he's tanned, very tanned, and he's wearing a flashy gold watch on his wrist.
Now, he might not have been with Melanie, and even if he was with Melanie, there's no evidence she was abducted at this point.
No. In fact, I've got a belief that Melanie may have been befriended by somebody. In that last 40 minutes the club was open. Her friends have gone, she may have realised that. And I believe she may have gone off with somebody voluntarily. Maybe she got in somebody's car outside with this, whoever she went with. It's that person I appeal to. Did you take Melanie? Did you go away with her that night? Please help us. Telephone us now.
OK, this is the night of Saturday, the 8th of June. What about the sightings outside the club? There were two. First, of course, the couple who were seen, and I think somebody said, oh, he seemed to be giving her a hard time. And then a little later on, the girl seeing slightly manhandled into a car park.
That's right. The similarity is this. All those girls are similarly described as Melanie, a young, blonde lady. Now, it may be that that's not Melanie at all. And again, please come forward so that I can eliminate you from our inquiries.
And again, the sighting on the Kennet and Avon Canal, likely to be a red herring, that, is it?
Could well be a red herring. It's just the name Melanie. It's just a chance. Perhaps the witness got it wrong, I don't know.
OK, well, if you can help resolve any of those sightings, here's the number. It's a free call. Don't hesitate. And, of course, don't hesitate if you've heard anything about this case and can help in that way. 0500 600 600. Mr Livings has several colleagues here tonight. Others are at the incident room in Bath, which is on 01225 842 460. That's Bath, 842 460. There are some cases like that one that strike a nervous chord across the nation. In fact, none more so recently than the murder, well, ever, I suppose, than the murder of a child by a stranger. When 2 months ago 14-year-old Kate Bushell was killed while walking a dog near her home in Devon, the story made front-page news. 3 suspicious figures were reported: a vagrant, a van driver, and a man seen running from the area. The next 10 minutes could be crucial to the inquiry. Unless a viewer can help now, the killer might not be caught until he strikes again.
From the moment that you fear that something awful might have happened to your child, your mind fears the worst and prepares itself for the worst. And shock sets in so that you don't feel anything different from that moment onwards. In fact, you're just completely taken out of the world.
Exwick is on the eastern edge of Exeter, and people tend to know each other. So when last summer a vagrant appeared, a local resident took notice. So did his dog.
As I was walking up the lane and going around to the first bend, this character was coming towards me. He had a long checky brown coat, big collar which was very tight to his neck, and he had long straggly hair. You had that impression that he'd been living rough and sleeping rough, you know.
The vagrant was seen around the area several times by the same witness. On one occasion,
the vagrant came out from behind a tree, crossed the lane and over the gateway. It was scary.
This was half a mile from Kate's home, on a route she used to walk. It was Wednesday the 12th of November, 3 days before her murder.
Saturday morning. She got a token from when the Virgin Megastore had opened. She bought a CD for herself.
Come on, Kate, time to go.
She bought a book on The Simpsons for Tim.
What? CDs? Oh, Lighthouse Family.
Who?
You've never heard of the Lighthouse Family?
No.
She could be very adult-like at times. She could also be a very frustrating teenager to me, not to anyone else.
No trainers? No.
She was a fun-loving child. Good company. I've lost a very good friend in her. Just her cheerful presence around the house.
So what'd you get me?
I didn't get you anything.
What do you mean you didn't get me anything? It's my birthday. Can I have a lift to my mates, please, later?
We'll sort it out. Kate, do you want some lunch?
No, thanks, I'm fine.
Tim, your dad's watching the television.
He's reading the paper.
It's fine, switch it on.
She was doing homework, 3 till 4:30. She was very conscientious with her schoolwork, and that's when I went up at 4:30. She was doing it.
It's 4:30. Time to take Gemma for a walk.
Gemma was the next-door neighbour's dog, and Kate had agreed to walk her while the family were away for the weekend.
My last impression of her alive was just that she came into the living room, picked up Stuart and Alison's key and went out, and I thought nothing of it. I just thought, oh, Stuart and Alison are away this weekend, so she must be walking the dog.
Her father and his children were out stretching their legs at the same time.
That Saturday, the weather did ease off a bit, and we thought it was an ideal opportunity to take the children out. We went down to the blackberry bushes, and of course the children was thinking that there may be some blackberries there, and of course there obviously wasn't. So we just carried along at a leisurely pace. The point that we actually stopped was at the gate. I looked at my watch, and it was 5 to 5. I noticed this young girl, aged between 13 and 14. The thing that was noticeable was that she had white stripes on tracksuit bottoms, and obviously she was walking a dog.
Well, actually, when we turn around the lane, it goes into a little bend.
We'll only stay for a little while, just for a cup of tea. She'll be looking forward to seeing us.
And we saw the dog, so my mum slowed right down. And the angle which the girl was stood was facing me, and she was looking right at us, which was, we thought was unusual. She looked quite confident, and then we drove on. Then on the right-hand side, there was a van. And there's a chap stood by the van, and he had his back to us.
No, I haven't seen him before.
I thought, wait a minute, what is he doing there? When we heard of the murder, we felt very guilty. We had a guilt complex about it, as if we could have gone back and helped her some way.
When I'd finished the ironing and got dinner ready, I was beginning to think she ought to be home.
It's 6 o'clock.
She's not back?
No.
Right, I'll get the car keys, we'll drive up there.
She was such a reliable child, and she knew how much it worried us. I suppose at that time I was more thinking I'd had an accident, but I think deep down I knew there was more than that.
We're just going off the lane, and then we go back down to the estate. We can't drive up there.
I can remember driving along and having the windows open just in case we could hear her as we went past.
If she's not at her friend's, then we'll call the police.
For some reason I just began to get this sort of gut feeling of panic or dread inside. I knew there was nothing more to do. Suzanne, having already spoken to the police, and I'd seen them fairly briefly at the house, they'd got all the details they needed. And to me the important thing was to go looking, because if she was injured or in pain in any way, the best thing was to get help as quickly as possible. I could hear nothing. As I was coming back onto the footpath route, I could see Gemma's eyes.
Gemma? Come here, girl. Come here, girl. Come on, Gemma. Come here, girl.
The next thing I knew, before I'd actually caught up with Gemma, I was at the top corner of the field where Kate's body was, and there was her body just to the right of me.
About an hour later, and half a mile away, with a police helicopter overhead.
I stepped out from the house and I looked up to see the helicopter above me. And then I heard like footsteps running from the footpath beyond the house. I saw this chap running from the back.
It could be quite unconnected, but who is he?
Everything seemed to be being done in slow motion. I just sat on the sort of open back of holding Gemma. Nothing hit me for a while. It seemed likely that she was dead, but I couldn't be sure of that. I was just hoping beyond hope that she was alive.
Mike Stevens, this was tragedy enough, but I think you're concerned this could just be the start.
I think all the officers on the inquiry are really concerned that this may happen again.
What we can do at least is eliminate as many clues as possible. Let's take this vagrant first, who was seen so often up to the time of the murder. What do you know about him?
Well, we know he was there at least 2 months prior to the murder and went missing thereafter. He's certainly described as a man 5'10", 6 feet tall, 30 to 40 years of age.
He's the one on the left here, in the big coat.
That's right. Now, the big coat, you seem to be always wearing that coat, even when it's very hot.
5'10" to 6 foot, always in the coat, stocky, late 30s. Now, the next clue is that blue van, which you need to eliminate around the time of the murder.
The blue van was seen there by the last people to see Kate alive. We know it was facing out of the lane towards Whitstone. About a quarter of an hour earlier, 2 other witnesses had driven down the lane and seen a blue Fiesta parking in the opposite direction. Now, we want to know if, in fact, it was the same vehicle, or, in fact, there was a Fiesta there, or a blue van there as well.
Saturday, the 15th of November, that would have been about 4:45. And I think there's one issue which I actually haven't made public yet, but again, it's a matter of elimination. You found a series of dens where children may have hidden, or grown-ups may have used around that area. You need to eliminate people who've used those. Tell us why.
Well, we found in the area of the murder itself a black bin liner. Now, in the bin liner there were some personal items, and from the bin liner we've had some fingerprints. We need to eliminate that bin liner and the bag itself.
And do you want to make an appeal, a final appeal, or at least another appeal to the local community?
That's right. We've obviously had a lot of media coverage on this, but someone out there really does know about the individual concerned, and really we need that individual to come forward with that vital piece of evidence.
Whatever you know, please let us know now. 0500 600 600, or you can call other members of the murder team who are in Exeter tonight, waiting now. The number there, 01392 451 659. That's 01392 451 659.
That's made headline news. That is the murder in Cornwall 3 weeks ago today of Linda Bryant. As you may have seen, Linda's death might be linked with the stabbing last year of Kate Bushell, the schoolgirl ambushed while walking a dog in Devon. Linda too had been out walking her dog, and it was her abandoned lurcher that drew attention.
This is Vipka Bjurmak in the newsroom. A massive police investigation is underway after the discovery of a woman's body in a field on the Roseland Peninsula. Jack Enright reports.
The dead woman's body was found by a holidaymaker at Ruin High Lanes at around 20 to 3 this afternoon. She phoned police, who have now surrounded the area around the village, which lies around 5 miles south of Truro. Officers say the woman had a number of stab wounds on her body.
My first idea that something might have been wrong was when I saw a lot of police vans go down the same road that she walked down, and I was very, very shaky. 2 policemen got out of the car and came to the door and told me that Mum had been found dead.
Come on, sweetheart. Another day, another dollar.
Why can't it be another day, another $1 million? That's what I want to know. Wouldn't mind getting up for work then.
I think Lee would have been killing around today.
Hasn't said. Anyway, you've just seen him, Mum.
Can't see enough of him, you know that. First grandchild's always special.
She absolutely adores her grandson. She was looking forward to him starting to walk and talking.
Bye.
If I hadn't have gone to work that day, if I'd been able to spend it with Mum, I would have told her that I loved her, because we don't say that to each other very often.
Around lunchtime that day, a local woman noticed a stranger walking near Ruin High Lanes on the road from Truro to St Mawes.
As I approached him, he sort of turned around and looked at me and just looked odd.
3 weeks ago, could this have been you? 5'10", early 30s, short hair, square-jawed, dark eyebrows.
When he looked at me, I just remember thinking, I wouldn't pick you up even if you were hitchhiking.
I knew Linda quite well. I used to go to school with her. She didn't use the garage all that regular. I believe at the time it was about 1 o'clock-ish.
Thanks, love.
Thank you. I was late paying my petrol bill, so I drove in, and Lynn was just getting into her car then, and I went over to her, and, you know, that week I hadn't seen her for about 3 or 4 months, I suppose.
Hi, Linda. How you doing? Oh, baby seat in the back, I see. Is there something you're trying to tell me?
Very funny, Iris.
Only kidding. You don't look old enough to be a grandmother. That's why I keep forgetting.
Then I was aware of a van coming in, and I thought that because I parked at such an awkward angle, that he couldn't get to the diesel pump to fill up.
You say the sweetest things, Iris. But listen, I've got a dash. I'll talk to you later, though, okay?
Sure. Better move myself. Be swearing at me soon, him, if I don't let him into the pumps.
He was about 50 years old, with a round face and a full bushy brown beard flecked with grey. He appeared to be quite big and seemed to be wearing a waxed green jacket.
But he didn't look at me. His eyes were looking towards the road or Lynn's car. And I thought, funny thing.
And I remember it because it slowly reversed back towards me here and followed the Sierra down the road, yeah. Very, calculated.
Fireworks.
But there's loads of them in there.
Eric, no!
Right. Think I'll just take Jay for a walk.
She never wanted to celebrate her birthday because she never wanted to get older.
It seems like they come round quicker every year. Okay, Jay, let's stretch these legs of yours. Come on, girl. Come on. Won't be long.
Okay, bye. Jay was a rescue dog and Mum loved her to bits.
This is a route which Linda Bryant took almost every day. Were you in Ruin High Lanes on Tuesday 3 weeks ago, where Linda walked down towards the Methodist Chapel and then left towards Trewarga?
I've done that walk with her quite a few times. Usually she forced me. But now I'd do anything to walk around there with her again.
And were you walking round there at roughly 2 o'clock that Tuesday afternoon? Was this you meeting Linda with her lurcher on the crossroads near the chapel?
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
At 2 o'clock I went up to get the cows out the field. There was nothing in the road, nothing opposite. There was nobody there. I've seen her walking her dog and I know she lived local. I only know her as Linda, as all.
At first I thought, no, they're lying. And it just dawned on me that they weren't. Night times is the worst. Through the daytime, there's usually at least one policeman. Then at night time, when everybody's gone home, you're just sort of left to sit and think. It's a very strange feeling not having Mum there, because sometimes you just think that she's up in the other room or she's gone somewhere and you don't know when she's coming back.
Well, Chris Borland, this case has attracted a huge amount of publicity nationally, appalled everyone who's heard about it. Who are you appealing to tonight?
Well, Linda Bryant's killer is clearly a dangerous and violent man who has to be caught. My main appeal is to someone watching who perhaps either knows the killer or has suspicions about someone they live with or work with or live near to. Secondly, I'd like to hear from professional people, perhaps doctors or psychiatrists, who have or have had a patient that they think is probably capable of this violent crime.
Well, that plea certainly worked in the Michael Stone case. Now, ironically, it's the year's anniversary this weekend of the murder of Kate Bushell, and the two have been linked. Do you believe seriously that there are links between the two cases?
There are distinct possibilities that they are linked, and we're working closely with the Kate Bushell inquiry team. But I would stress that this also could be local in character.
Now, you have said, as we saw in the film, that there are a number of people you want to identify, particularly the man in that Maestro van, and I think you've got a bit more information since that film, haven't you?
Yes, we've had two important sightings on the Friday and the Saturday before Linda's death. Most important was a sighting on Saturday the 17th of October when the van was seen in the lay-by near to the Methodist church, very close to where her body was found.
And what about the other two? We saw a number of two other men in the film, but there are two that we didn't see who you'd like to eliminate as well, two other sightings of strangers, perhaps.
Yes, one was a man walking across a field in light clothing at about 3 o'clock, away from the A3078, and we know that that's particularly unusual.
Now, her glasses went missing. You haven't found her glasses?
No, the glasses that were used in the reconstruction are identical to the ones that Linda wore on the day. They've not been found, so I'd like to hear from anyone who has any information about those.
What would you say to someone who is at home, who has an inkling, but who is afraid to call in?
Linda's family and the community around Roseland have been devastated by this crime. It's important we hear from anybody who's got any information at all. It's equally important that they don't just focus on the white van and the descriptions we've given, but on anyone that raises suspicions. We need to hear from them for any reason at all.
The man in the white van, do you believe that he is a strong suspect?
I think he is. He doesn't appear to be local. But if he isn't, we need him to come forward so we can eliminate him from the inquiry and we can concentrate on more important matters.
Chris Borland, thank you very much indeed. Well, please don't hesitate if you can help in any way. 0500 600 600 is our free call number to the studio. There are many detectives here and other officers are waiting on 01392 451 004. That's Exeter 451 004.
6 weeks ago in Plymouth, there was an incident of road rage between a pedestrian and a driver. The pedestrian finished up dead.
He liked being private. That was the way he was. He was very quiet, very independent. He was helpful, and he helped other people. And he loved his family.
No one doubts that Colin Beer had too much to drink that Saturday. He'd been at it all afternoon.
I don't know why he'd been drinking that day. It was a surprise to me because when he came to visit me, or me and my wife, I offered to take him out for a drink, and he said no, he wouldn't drink it anymore. He'd stopped drinking.
Come on.
I know about 7, half 7, I don't know yet.
What's the others doing?
Just
a minute. Look at that blue for that.
What the hell? There's a man stood in the middle of the road. He looked a bit drunk and was staggering a bit. But then we noticed that as one car went past, he hit the windmill of it. When I first saw him get out the car, I did think that there was going to be a fight, or at least words would be crossed, because he looked angry, but I didn't think that it would be that bad. When I saw the man attack the victim, I felt a bit nervous, but when I saw him fall to the ground, I felt sick, because it was like, how could someone do that?
The car was a silver blue Peugeot 406, known as Samarkand Blue. This is Plymouth at about 6 p.m. on Saturday, the 9th of June.
Norman, we should point out he had much darker hair than the actor in the reconstruction.
Yes, he did.
Now, what do you hope for from this appeal?
Well, I believe that this person could have been a visitor to the Plymouth area, either working or in pleasure. And Colin Beer was 5 days in intensive care before he died. It's well on the cards that this person actually left the area and doesn't realise the result of his actions.
And of course may not even have meant to hurt Colin all that badly.
That's right, Nick. It's one blow, and I don't really think that that fellow ever thought that he would kill Colin Beer as a result of that strike.
So you've really got to get this guy to call in himself. I mean, that's really the essence of what tonight's about, then.
That's right. I need to know his side of the story. What happened that day? I've numerous witnesses to this. Many people can identify him.
Now, I mean, I was going to say, you're going to get this guy eventually because you've got so many clues and you'll be able to eliminate all the... Because that sort of Peugeot 406, that type of blue, in that town that day is infrequent. You're going to be able to find them eventually.
Absolutely. There are only several thousand of those in the UK, and we can methodically work our way through that.
So what you need, he to come forward, explain his side of the story, and if not, other people who've got a suspicion who he might be.
That's right. My appeal is, who came home on the 9th of June with a sore hand, who has access to that silver blue Peugeot, who is like my artist's impression, and has knowledge of Plymouth or knows people in the Plymouth area.
OK, well, the driver may be a sales rep, visiting Plymouth, whoever he is. Maybe he's got relatives there. It's unlikely he set out to kill Colin, as you've heard. So if you know who he is, give us his name, please. 01752 789 039. Or in this or any other crime, you can always call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.